and I worked together with Marco in Montreal, where we founded Scuola Giovanni Grasso, and we also work as actors, directors, and acting teachers in Italy, Canada, of course, and New York. So basically, we are artists like you. So own your creative process. What does it mean? The idea behind this workshop is to share our thoughts about our artistic tools, about our artistic concern when we do our work in opera, in theater, and we are going to do it, let's say, in a creative way. So through memories, through imagination, we'll try to know ourselves a bit better. So it's not just directly connected, focused on singing or acting, on theater. Is about us as artists and as human beings, how we work, because we are all different and we work in different ways. So our own relationship with the stage, for example, and with all the steps that we do in order to get there.
Yeah, I can add something.
Yeah, sure.
For the people who were present at our previous workshop, you will remember that we have talked a lot about what concept that is to think outside the box. So we have tried to stretch the opera box a little bit by having some fun with music, with the words, and starting to suggest different approaches to the study of character. Today is going to be a bit different because we are going to take a look into our personal boxes, artistic boxes, let's say so. So we are going to discuss all together what we put in our personal boxes, how each one of us is facing the stage. And when I say the stage, I mean the whole process to get in the stage, starting from, I don't know, the first time we take a look to the score or to the play, through all the rehearsal process until the very last performance.
Yeah, so let's discover a bit more ourselves. How? I'll ask you a few things. I'll ask some questions to you, and you will answer not immediately, but I'll ask you to write the answer down. So take some paper and a pen. And okay, but first of all, I'd like you not to think too much about the answers. We always think too much about the good, the bad answer, the right one, the wrong one, the best answer ever. Let your instinct answer for you. What I mean? I'll ask you something. The first thing that comes up to your mind, that's the answer. So trust your instinct, trust whatever comes up to your mind immediately, without thinking. So try to be very open, to be very sincere to yourself, and not to judge yourself, because again, it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's about you. It's about you, how you work, your unique self. Okay? So, first of all, as we are sharing this wonderful virtual space all together, even if we are in different rooms, different houses, even different countries, I'd like all together just to share, to maybe just for a while to switch on the microphones and to share a breath all together. So let's take a deep breath all together and let's let it go. Thank you. Again, even deeper, and feed yourself with a huge, wonderful, with a pleasure sigh of relief. Oh, thank you, thank you. Okay, You can switch off again your microphone, and just for a few seconds, I'll ask you, if you don't mind, to close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, I ask you just to think about one particular work, artistic work you were involved into, like, I don't know, your last show, your last concert, a particular theater or opera production, something in particular. And in the whole process, so from the very beginning, where you don't even know exactly the libretto or the play, until the very last, during the rehearsal, and then the singing study, and to the very last repetition in front of an audience. So think about this particular artistic experience, breathe, and the first thing that comes up to your mind, the first image you see about it. Okay, open your eyes and write it down. The first thing you had in mind, thinking about this particular experience. Okay, done? Okay, close again your eyes. Think about it again. The second thing that comes up to your mind, the second image. From the same particular show, concert, artistic experience. Second thing that you see in your mind. And then open your eyes and write it down. Okay, great. Third time, close your eyes. And the third things that come up to your mind. So the third one and other things that you see in your mind, that you think about without searching for. And open your eyes and write them down. So if you have other things that came up to your mind during your closed eyes moment, you can write down. And great. Okay, now let's set aside all these answers for a while. Let's save them for later. And I'll ask you another question. So no need to close your eyes right now. And I'll ask you now, just in general, so not thinking about a particular moment, a particular show, but in general, in your work, you do a lot of things. So you study, you rehearse, and at some point, you go on stage in front of an audience. So I ask you, usually, what do you think when you are finally on stage? So what is your first thought when you are there? And what about your second thought, your third thought? So write down a sort of ranking, a list of thoughts you have when on stage.
Yeah, while you are there.
Okay, when you're done, I don't know, put a thumbs up.
Yes. You have as much time as you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, take your time.
Remember, everyone, you have reactions at the very bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
So in case you want to share reactions, feel free to do so.
Penso che abbiamo fatto. Forse.
Okay. Can I go on? Okay, great. So again, generally speaking, new question, so sorry. Generally speaking, in your job, during the whole process, when you work on a role, when you stage something, what do you usually like the most? What is your favorite moment in the whole process? Write it down. Okay. Finished? Okay, great. Last one, I promise. I now ask you to give a percentage. So, during your work, I know you have to do a lot of things. You are supposed to do a lot of things. You are required to do a lot of things. So, how much space do you think you can leave to your own creative initiative, to your own creative suggestions, ideas in the process? Give it a percentage and write it down. Okay, great. Now we can come back to our answers and to the first question that was about thinking about a particular production, a particular whatever artistic process, work, show, and first, second, and third thing that came up to our mind. So, who want to be the first brave one to share the answer with all of us?
Sorry, is this the first answer to the first question?
Sorry?
Is this the first answer to the first question?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
the first answer, yes.
The third moment that come up to our mind when the first, the second, and the third moment when we think about a particular show production.
The first one that came to me was like the bows, like bowing at the end of a performance, just a sense of like accomplishment and joy, that you were able to entertain an audience and keep them interested and have them enjoy your performance. It gives me a lot of joy. The second moment that came to mind was just like the cast party, honestly, just being able to celebrate with
The cast party. Okay.
being able to celebrate and just really appreciate everybody that you were able to work with, and just it just kind of gives a really good sense of closure to the whole thing, and that you were able to do that together. And the third moment that came to mind was how much fun I had during the preliminary coaching, even just with like the pianists that were doing the coachings with us and the repetitions and everything, and just like my double cast, my friend and I had a lot of fun just bouncing off each other and feeding off the energy, and just really learning the material together. So that was the third moment that came to mind for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Very interesting. Who wants to be the next one?
Emily raised their hand, so I will open the floor to Emily.
Yeah.
Please.
Wait, Emily, we can hear you. I will unmute you immediately. I think we need. I think we need you to unmute yourself. Emily, I'm sorry, but we cannot hear you. You need to. I think there's an option by which you go and unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me right now?
There you go. Awesome.
Okay, sorry.
No worries.
Okay, to answer your question, yeah, okay. To answer your question, I guess it has been a while that I didn't do an artistic performance. Maybe a few months ago, I've done a concert. So my main priority was mostly to deliver like a text or what I wanted to say with those pieces or with those like phrases, or you know, I was more concerned about the sense that I wanted to give in each art songs, or for the cycle that I want to that I had to deliver to the audience.
Sure.
Thank you, Emily.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, who wants to be the next one? Yes, Olivia.
Okay, so the first thing I thought of when I thought of my last performance, which was a couple days ago actually, the first thing that came to mind was taking one of my pieces and walking around the practice room and just delivering the text and finding out what that text meant to me, and what actually, a little bit, as Emilie was saying, what message or I wanted to convey or deliver. But it's not even like a message that I want to convey. It's like what picture, what intention is behind that. If I was going through this like story myself, what is this story to me? That's the first thing. Actually, I find it quite fun. It's one of my favorite parts of the process. The second thing that came to mind was coaching through it, or even working on it in a lesson. But I really love coachings because you get to extract like deeper meaning from it, and then you shape it, and you discover from someone else a way to shape it that you didn't think of, and you get to add that in there. And then the third thing that came to mind was the actual performance and the interactions with your audience, and how they liked it and their comments. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Somebody else wants to share? Please, Hilma.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfectly.
Perfect. Okay. So I did have a particular performance in mind, and the first thing that came to my mind is just fun. It was a performance that was very unusual to the things I usually do. So it was just fun. Like, it was so different. And then the second thing that came to mind was just letting go. Again, because it was so different. To just sort of childish, just letting go. And then the third thing was then the interaction with audience, which also became sort of different. So it was pretty special.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Somebody else wants to try? Nobody else? Okay.
Nobody.
Yeah, please, Lucy, we're honored.
If nobody else, I can fill some time while the rest of you decide when to come in. But I'm a coach who used to be a singer. I'm still, I guess, a little bit of a singer. But because I haven't sung an opera in a while, the first images that jumped to my mind were of a performance we had given last summer of La Straniera Bellini with some of my favorite colleagues, and I was in the booth. I had written the sovratitoli, I had written the super titles, and I was projecting from the little cabin in the sky, right? And so my first thought was of the protagonist delivering this gut-wrenching finale, just watching her. My thought was of watching her and identifying with her, you know, because we had coached it together. You guys made my day, I have to say. Hilma, Olivia, all of you who are talking about coaching through, it's, of course, to me, that's one of the most fun parts. And because when you've gone through that with somebody, you feel like you are them and they are you, you know, when they're on stage. So first thought was of her. The second thought was of a tragic moment at the end of the first act that became a comic moment because we weren't fully staged, which was a little silly, but I thought about how that wonderful baritone sort of got his way out of it. And my third thought was of the orchestra, like the sea on which the ship, you know, was sailing. But because you guys were talking about boxes before, it made me think of that box that you're in that you open up for the audience when you are on stage. And I thought of all the joy that I have when I'm sitting in my little box looking down on the performers. So yeah. It made me cry. It was great. So thank you for the memory coming.
Yeah. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, great show.
The memories work in a different way for everyone.
Yeah,
somebody
when you don't
looks at them, somebody feels, somebody, I don't know, feel in the emotional side. So even
yeah, to think of
mind,
I was just in the box and I saw her and then saw him and then saw them like that. It was, yeah.
Okay, so.
Sorry, one thing. Janine raised her hand and she asked to have the floor. So if you don't mind, I will leave the floor to Janine.
Yeah, just trying to figure out the flow. So I used to be a performer and I moved to directing instead and producing. So different words, of course, came. Like when you're on film and directing actors on set, you definitely need confidence. So that came to me right away, and you can't have that, of course, without knowing actually what you're doing. And then moving to the second part of like, when I just think of when I'm on set directing people, is that picturing the scene. So I always do this thing that most people do. You try to picture the scene. So that's where it feels like the creativity and collaboration came in as the second part, because you do need to collaborate. And then the third, of course, is the success part. When you nail the shot, when you see actors having fun, or you know, they nail the performance, you get kind of what you want, or even surprise. You're ready to go. So I like those were three, and I didn't realize, oh yeah, I use those every day. So
true. Thank you.
So it was very interesting to think about this kind of thoughts I think we don't used to share a lot with other people, because during the show we are so taken from what we have to do right now, and then after there's kind of the excitement, and we are together, and I don't know if you have moments with your colleagues to share this kind of feelings, because I think it could be really helpful. And I would like to ask to Hilma one thing. Because you said that the last thing you did was something really different from what you are used, right? Mm-hmm. And you say that it was fun because it was different.
Unusual.
Unusual, yes.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you if, I don't know, maybe you felt less responsibility because it's an unusual thing. So it's like the judgment level, it wasn't as high as you are used to. It's
exactly.
Like that.
Yeah. It
yes.
kind of took the pressure down a little bit. The style of music was a bit different. It was very modern music, and it was just, the setting was very different from the kind of traditional romantic opera stuff. So it was just that feeling of the pressure wasn't as high as usually, and just being able to let go a bit more. It felt a bit more, I was more allowed to let go in one way.
Yeah, because maybe I'm wrong, but maybe when I do something similar in theater, for me it's like, okay, it's like you say that the pressure is as high as usual, but maybe it's like if something goes wrong, it's not my fault. It's like, okay, it's the whole project that people is not going to think that it's my fault. So I don't judge myself as hard as usual, and I think that also the audience is not going to judge me as hard as usual. And when it happened to me, the second thought I had was, okay, but it would be fun if I could have the same
attitude.
Yes, the same attitude. Like, okay, it's not my fault. I'm here to do the best I can, and it's not that you told me, no, I didn't care. No, you care to do it. So you were there 100%. It's not that it was totally like that. So you were professional and focused, but at the same time you were able to let it go, to let some of the pressure go. So it's very good for us when we have some different experiences, because we can start to ask ourselves, oh, I should find a way to take something from it there. I don't know how to do it, because we are all different and we work in different way. But sometimes we think that, I don't want to say with serious thing, because everything is serious when we work, but there are things that it's like when we are on stage, for me, it's too late to feel the responsibility. It's like my professionality, my responsibility, the work I had to do, it's all before, and I had to work really hard. But when I'm there, it's kind of, I need to leave it in some way. It's very important. I know it's just words, because it's easy to say, and it's very hard to do. But it's very, very good when someone can have this, because, sometimes the thing we remember the less is actually the performance itself. Sometimes we really remember what happened before, what happened after, which is very, very good to do. But I noticed that sometimes the performance kind of
disappear.
Yes. And on a personal level, there was a time when I was in acting school, I was considered very good, but there was, after one show, I realized that thinking about the show, I couldn't remember the faces of the other actors. No one. Even if I had many parts when I was talking to someone else, I cannot remember. I had in my head the image, the fantasy image of myself doing the thing. So I started to realize that something was wrong. Even if people think, oh, it's good, I was kind of cheated. I don't know how to say. It wasn't, I knew that I couldn't really understand theater on a deeper level it was like that. So I had to start again from the beginning. So I'm really, really curious about this kind of process for a singer, an opera singer, because the thing you have to take care about while you are stage are a lot more than for an actor, because you have to be with the music, you have to take a look most of the time to the conductor, so many things. So I think that it's very difficult to have like an experience that we can say pure. I don't know how to express, but
Yeah.
I think you understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to find some way to go there, to this kind of pure. So it's an answer. There isn't one answer that you say, okay, do like this, and it's okay. We have to try, and sometimes we have to take some risk.
Yeah, and also I had the sensation that, the feeling that all the things you shared, maybe I'm wrong, but tell me, were beautiful things, were beautiful memory. But you know if they were really beautiful or not. You know how the first thing comes up to my mind. Maybe I don't even know if it's a good memory or not. But it's your first memory, the second and the third one. So I think that your memory recollect the things that in some way are most important for you. You are more used to them. You are more hit by them. So in some way, in emotional way, or sometimes, for example, in some very bad moments of my life or very bad shows, I just could remember the bad things. So my mistakes on stage, or a bad relationship with, I don't know, a colleague or a director. And so reminding that show, that particular production, it was like a dark side, I don't know, dark light, no beautiful things. And then it's still a good tool to understand how you worked there. So maybe it was part of your job to create good memories. Or maybe I discover, okay, I have a very good memory of the singing coaching moment. So it's something, it's yours. It's like something you can take with you. Okay, but maybe you don't have memory about, as for example, Valerio said, the others on stage. So maybe that's something you can work with. So it's a very, very basic, very first instrument tool to begin filing your things, the things you have, and the things maybe you don't have yet, or you have but in a different level of attention, or whatever. So it's this little game, it's up to you to begin asking new questions from these answers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you have any question, please feel free to ask before we go on. Okay, no questions. Perfect. So the second thing I asked was, in general, what you think when on stage. So in that particular moment, so fragile, so sensitive, when you did your job at home and now you are there on that stage in front of an audience doing your job. So what do you think there? Who wants to begin? Yes, Hannah?
Okay, there we go.
Okay, yes, great.
So when I'm finally on stage, I think about like just being the character. not necessarily acting like the character, but actually just being that person, just so I can really internalize it and try to really portray that character to the audience. And then the second thing I think of is any notes that I might have had since the last performance or the last rehearsal, and trying to really take care of those things so that I do a good job and really bring the vision that the director had to the stage. And then the third thing I think of is being super alert to surroundings and the conductor. So, like, for example, like in the last show I was in, one of the nights, like a big prop was rolled onto the stage and something fell off of it. And so just like, you know, you have to be quick, and I just, you know, stayed in character and just like went over and picked it up, and, you know, just, you know, like then nobody notices, right? So just being super aware to things like that, just like things that you don't expect to happen during a performance, and just being able to deal with them, and not break, you know, whatever else is going on. And then, yeah, also obviously just paying attention to the conductor, just to make sure that you're always on check and on cue, and yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hannah. Wants to go on? Yes, Hilma?
Okay, so usually my first thought or feeling when getting on stage is finally, because that like split second of, yes, okay, I'm here. This is what I worked for. And then there's a brief moment of, oh shit, like then you kind of get into your head all those things you need to remember, and that did not go well or whatever. And then it's like, okay, let's do this. That's number 3. And then after that, it's hopefully just to enjoy it in the best of worlds. But yeah, that's usually how it goes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Olivia?
Okay, so I noticed that the first things that I was thinking, well, like, okay, on stage is like these two conflicting thoughts of, oh, I'm looking forward to singing, I want to do this, and like just saying it's going to be okay, just focus. But basically kind of being in denial of the fact that there may be nerves there. The second thing second thoughts are actually acknowledging that there's nerves there, like that oh shit moment she was talking about. And then it's just, you know what, there's no use to, and the third one is just do it, like just throw it away and do it, and then you get into the performance. It's off, and then it goes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wants to be the next one?
When it comes to my mind, when I enter on stage, I mostly think about my breath. I know it sounds stupid, but you know, when you get nervous and you don't want to be in the denial because nerves are still there, I think I try to connect my breath to my emotion, the text and the music that I have to deliver. So it's a bit the continuation of the work that I've done before.
Great, thank you. Somebody else want to share? Yes, Lucy, please.
Lifts their hand. Yeah, whether it's, I mean, I find the same thing, whether it's on stage in character ready to sing, or whether I'm ready to play for a singer. This basically the same sequence of things happens, very similar to what Hannah and Olivia and all of you described. There's that moment of, yeah, like we're here, they're here, the lights are on, and then it's the immediate technical checklist. That C sharp isn't loud enough. I'm gonna sing flat on this. What am I gonna do? My hem. The tenor's gonna drop okay, that list. And then at your prompt, I felt that whichever instrument it is, there's a sense of how can I make you understand? Like you, the audience, or you, the other character, or how can I help? How can I understand, if I'm playing, how can I understand what the singer is doing? So I'm a good companion, you know? So and that's the most fun thought is that all of the technical things, all of the logistical things suddenly go into that service of, yeah, like Emily said, delivering. You're delivering the text. You're making the communication. You're saying the thing, and then you get to listen, and then it's going to be different every night.
Yeah,
I think that's what we all miss now. We can all record it, but we miss that it's different every night when we're together.
Yeah. Yes, true.
Yes, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
The energy of the moment. Thank you.
Music, same notes, same everything, but it will never be the same.
Yeah. Somebody else want to tell their own answer? Okay, thank you.
So I'm curious about one question, because the most of you have talked about some oh shit moment, right? When that is right after the moment when you are so happy to be there. And I would like to know if this oh shit moment is something you are expecting, or is something it happens to you, like if you go on stage maybe thinking, I want to this happy moment to go on, and you are suddenly hit by the
shit.
Yes, or shit. Or it's something that you decide that it's like this. Okay, after I'm happy, but now I need to
deal with the shit moment.
Yes, because Olivia.
Okay, so at first when I'm happy, I know the oh shit moment is coming at some point, but I'm like trying to put it off, but it always just, like, my heartbeat just speeds up, bang, out of nowhere. And it always surprises me. Like, everything will be fine, and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh, it just happened. But it's never a choice. It's definitely not a choice, but like, it's kind of like it's coming in the background, and at some point it hits, and then you're like, okay, it doesn't matter. And you just have to, and then it goes away once you just start the performance, or you focus on, or you try to start like focusing on, okay, where I'm going with this. But it's definitely not a choice.
Yes, thank you. Because I was curious, is because I know this kind of feeling, and sometimes when it happens to me or to some other actors or to other singers I have worked with, it's like when we go deep into this, for some of them, it's like they want to punish themselves to be too much happy at the beginning. Like, no, you are losing control. If you want to have too much fun, something is going to go really wrong. It's something like that. And so the other part that they want to protect you from the failure start to say, no. Take the funny side away, because we have some very serious work to do, which is kind of this very similar to what we were talking some minutes ago about the responsibility and something like that. So I was curious to know if it was something that, okay, I need to do this, or it's something happening to me. But it's very good that after a while it goes away, and there is this possibility to connect. To me, connection is another way to say that you have fun on stage. So it was very beautiful when Lucy said that, something like that, there is a moment when you really have technique and, say, humanity all together, when you use technique for being there. Yes.
To deliver.
Yes, to deliver. Yes, deliver is a word that you use a lot. Many of you use a lot. So it means that it's very important to find a connection when you are there. And it's also very important to have the fun part of it, that you are not scared by the whole thing. Then maybe you are a bit scared because it's a big thing. There are many people, or not so many people, but there's always someone who we fear the judgment from, right? So it's very good if we try to say, okay,
yeah,
the fun, it's not a problem.
Yeah, also because you are artists, so you are supposed to feel a lot, to be emotional, to have a lot of emotions. So it's very normal that going there, a huge emotion come to you, and that's why it's so important to transform your big fear in the emotion you have to deliver as a character. So beginning to feel, almost all of you say that in the first thought there were some emotions, so some joy or fear, or so you are there to feel and to transform into whatever you want for your character, your story, it's your energy. So an advice that I give myself anytime I go on stage is don't deny what you have. You have it, use it. You have fear because it's no more of a character for a while. It's Chiara, hugely scared. Okay, use that fear in order to transform wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
So another thing that I noticed that you, a lot of you, in the first thoughts on stage, check a lot about, okay, I'm here, do this, don't do that, try to do that one that they told you to do. So like you say yourself what you need to do. And it used to happen to me a lot. And then I tried to let it go, as Irma was saying, okay, I don't care. In Italian, we had this word, vaffanculo. Vaffanculo, all these thoughts, because they don't help me.
It doesn't mean I don't care, literally.
It's fuck off.
This is all recorded.
Yeah.
It's a super important advice for the record. It's very helpful to me because when I go there and I have to tell myself as an artist what I have to do, I'm not there anymore. So all the training that I do as an actress, as an artist, is before, in order to go there and to just not think about myself, but think about the story, think about the character, think about the other ones. I know it's way more difficult for a singer because you have a lot more technique to deal with, a lot of more possibilities of failure. So of course you go there and you check, but try to check a little before, because after a while, maybe if we do this exercise in 5 years, you can discover that the answer is, okay, first thing I remember, I think, when on stage is, I don't know, the set, the story. I'm a young woman of the 19th century or whatever. I'm feeling like this because the character is thinking like this. So maybe I'm speaking too much, but when you will discover yourself thinking about something not involved with really you are going into the right path.
Mm-hmm. Olivia would like, yeah.
Just a second, sorry. Claire raised their hand. I wanted to give the floor to Claire and then Olivia.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, so for me, like that, oh shit moment, that's very predictable. Like, I know a lot of people were saying like it happens out of nowhere, but for me, I usually know exactly when it's gonna happen. So I can like kind of predict when it's coming, and then like like what I try to focus on is just like breathing and like getting the breath that I need in order to make the sound, and like also thinking about things that aren't me and like that aren't evaluative of me, but more like, why am I here and like what am I trying to do?
And it always happens in the same moment, you say?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does. It's, yeah.
So I imagine that you are, so because you are predicting it, maybe you are start to have fear even before it happens. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what happens after that? Usually.
It usually like fades out because like after I like, it's sort of like a wave, like you ride the wave and then like it dissipates. So it usually just kind of like dissipates.
Yes. So maybe a part of that is pure anticipation of the yes. Yes. So it's always about how we are able to let it go. Something like that.
And also I remember a teacher of mine that in Italian he used to say, when on stage, quando sei sul palco, non preoccuparti, occupati. That means don't worry about what's going on, what the mistakes you are going to do, but occupy yourself. How can we translate, Marco?
Get busy.
Get busy in doing what really need your focus. When you focus on, in the moment you are on stage, how I'm working, how I'm doing, am I good, am I bad in doing what I need to do, you are out of the present moment. Theater is the present moment. So if you are in the technique while doing, you get lost, you are scared.
Yeah, if you are thinking too much about the
thinking too much,
technique.
worrying too much about technique or whatever scares you. So you can get busy on really, it's important. That is the message of the text, the feeling of the character, everything you need to deliver artistically and not technically. So if you are busy there, you can't worry about your mistakes or whatever.
Yes. And if it happens, you have always the same pattern to follow.
And of course, it helps a lot to do everything you can do in your training before in order to deal with your anxiety. So of course, breathing, yoga, whatever, you will find little by little in your life what works for you. And then, yet there, tell yourself, fuck off. I don't care. I want to go on. I'm here to have fun. I'm here because I have something to say, in whatever way I say it. I can't get busy myself in asking, am I wrong or right this moment? I just can enjoy it.
Yes. If I can add just one thing that I used to say to actors or singers that are working with us, when they are doing something, they are on stage, I used to say, don't worry, because you earned it. You did so much in order to be there, so you are not the wrong person in the wrong place. You earn the stage to stay there.
Yeah, the stage, I remember, it's your home. Whatever level you are at, it's still your home.
Yes, if you work
you deserve
for stage,
it, and the stage deserves you.
Yeah, but there was Olivia, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is actually what my question was about. When you get up on the stage and you know you've done a lot of preparation, sometimes, like for me, like my mind will get super foggy and I'll forget all like the work that I put into it, and I'll just feel like it's not enough. Like in that moment, I'm like, I didn't prepare enough, but that's not true. Like when I go back and I actually like think about it rationally, it's like, that's not actually true. But like when I'm in the moment on stage, sometimes does it like ever happen to you? Do you have any tools to like counteract or fight against that feeling of like, I haven't done enough, oh my gosh, I'm not prepared, and then that takes away your ability to just enjoy it and like have fun?
I think that most of the time, of course, we are all different, so there isn't an answer that works for everyone. But if you ask yourself, have I worked enough in order to do so? The answer is going always to be no, because the question itself, it comes out from this kind of insicurezza, come lo posso dire? Insecurity, sorry.
Uncertainty.
Yes, uncertainty. So when it happens to me, I have a foggy mind too, because sometimes I trick myself without wanting it. Sometimes on stage, even if I know anything, I have some blackouts because I don't know, because the fear of something bad happening make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So in order not to have it, now I know that for me to have kind of tutta la memoria fatta, having all the part by heart or the movement and so on, I have my ritual, let's say so. I know that if I'm doing, for example, 16 times before 1 hour or 2 hours before going on stage in my mind, all like at full speed, like to be or not to be, this is where I'm 16 times, it works for me. If it doesn't work one time, I don't blame myself. I say something happens, because something can always happen. And sometimes it's not a bad thing. Sometimes we can also ride the mistake in some way. If we are not so, when you fall down, physically fall down, but you are so sudden that you cannot think about, and
your body saved you.
Yes, you didn't harm yourself, and you say, how I did it, it's incredible. But if you feel that you are start to fall, you start to think, I should save myself, and you go to, so the very important thing that is really hard not to understand, but to accept, that we don't have to do all the work by ourselves. There are something that is there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I always use the metaphor of the boiling water.
Yeah.
Because if you want to boil the water, you have to
switch
on the fire, and then to put the water and wait. Sometimes as artists, it's like we are there to say to the water, boil, you have to boil. And it's not like that. In this metaphor, we are the fire and the water at the same time, but we can work just with the fire, not with the water. Yeah. So you have to know the ritual. Yes, I know that if I do that kind of ritual 16 times before, that's my way to work on the fire. And then sooner or later, the water is going to boil. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's clear
For me, another advice I can give you, sometimes it's not even a matter of mistakes or a bad interpretation, is, okay, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm doing perfectly whatever the director told me to do. I'm not doing any mistakes. And still, it doesn't work. I'm not there, or yes, it's good, but it's not enough. And then I remember myself that, okay, I have to do this, but I have to enjoy it. So I allow myself, when on stage and just in that moment, to surprise myself. I still have to do everything. Like you have to sing that exact notes, of course, but you have a range of freedom you can discover in the moment. I can discover every night that single sentence and how it makes me feel. Maybe in a very little different way. That different way is my joy of it. It's my freedom, it's my moment of play. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I have a scene with a colleague, and maybe just that night I focus on her eyes, for example. Oh, they are blue, beautiful. And just that thought in that moment makes me do something different and makes me play with something.
Of course, it's not something you are going to do if you fear that something bad is going to happen, right? Because you don't say, oh, blue eyes. you have to trust that you did your work, and so you can, yes, that you are there, and it's not a problem if you focus yourself in order, let's say, to have fun. Mm-hmm. Okay, I know that there is an answer, do like this and it's good, but it's all about accepting that we have it. We don't have to bury ourselves before we have it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you to you. So, what is your favorite moment in your artistic process? What do you like the most? Yes, thank you, Hannah. It's the brave first one, always. Thank you.
So my favorite, like, what I enjoy the most is the camaraderie between myself and the people I get to work with. Yeah, I just get a lot. I've got a lot of joy out of, you know, making new friends and new colleagues that I like to then, you know, call on if I want to perform with them again. Like I've asked other people that I've worked with before if they want to perform with me, even on my last recital, for example. Like I had a lot of extra people on my recital that I really liked working with and enjoyed performing with. So that's a really important thing for me. The second thing I like the most is just actually being on stage and like the bows. Really, like that's such a joyful moment for me. Bowing and just like being on stage with everyone and just seeing the joy that we brought to the audience. And the third thing is just meeting and working with new directors, just seeing different styles and different directors and how they allow you to bring your own creativity and bouncing ideas. And I really like working with directors and being able to meet a lot of, like, I love like the networking and just, you know, putting myself out there. So yeah.
Thank you. So many things.
Emily is next. Wait, Emily.
Can you hear me?
Perfect. Now we can.
Okay.
Thanks.
I know it's weird, but the thing that I like that I enjoy the most during the process is I know it sounds crazy, but analyzing the character.
It's not crazy at all.
It's like, it's weird, but I need to make a sense out of this character and to try to find the meaning of what it means to me to sing this character, or for instance, an art song, or it needs to have a certain meaning to me. But so here I have a question for mostly Chiara, because she's an actress. When the character doesn't speak to you really much, what is your process in order to get in the character and to build it in order to deliver it to the audience or to your colleagues or your peers?
It's the question. It's the question. Anytime it's different. It depends from the kind of character. And I try to approach them in different ways. Sometimes I try to go into the philosophy of the author. So the kind of the breath of the play. Sometimes I just have an image, like it's my instinct to tell me, okay, the character is that. And I put on that character like it's a dress, so I can imagine their body, and I try to imagine that body on me. And I try to find then the voice and the thoughts beginning from that body and that moment. Sometimes, again, it's not my imagination, but I make artistic paintings help me. So I search for art books, a lot of painting and portraits, and in a moment I find, oh, okay, my character can be this painting. And so I try to feel the characteristic of the painting on me. And little by little, I build up the character. But the first brick can be everything, can be the text. Sometimes you analyze the text and you find all the information for the text, and these are your first direction. So, and then you begin filling the gaps that are not written in the text. So you begin imagining what's in the middle between this scene and this other scene. What's happened?
Okay.
A lot of things like that. It's really the question, and there is a lot of work. There are a lot of theater practitioners that wrote tons of books about it. So it's there are a lot of methods that help you to deal with the character. Like it's somebody else you can speak with, or it's every time yourself and a part of yourself you can begin with.
Yes, so when we can, in our school, sometimes, if it's possible, we like to have kind of mixed classes. We like to have singers, but also some actor, because it can be really helpful for a singer being with actors and for actors being with singer, because you start to share some process and that you don't think about.
Yeah. Also the language is something that can feed your imagination. And when I mean language, I mean also music for you. So, for example, I give you this example, Shakespeare wrote in poetry. So poetry is there is a lot of musicality in poetry.
A rhythm.
There is a rhythm. And I discovered reading in English that he used, for example, some characters, he preferred to use a lot of open vowel. Some other characters, very strict vowels, or a lot of a rhythm, more tack, 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 and some other characters, a more plain rhythm. So it's like Shakespeare gave me a cue, a hint of the personality of a character, beginning from the musicality of the text. So you have the music, and the music can give you a lot of advice about the personality, how my character thinks.
About the energy.
About the energy.
A character is an energy that it could be very different from our energy, and we have to just to stay with that kind of energy. And so Chiara said that it's very clear when you read Shakespeare and you have studied some poetry, so you can read inside that, okay, this is the energy of Hamlet, for example, in that moment. You know that to be or not to be moment, it's like the heart beating, because it is the moment when it's really alone. So you have this kind of, okay, it cannot be very strong in that moment, for example. And it's the same with the music. You have, the character is an energy that you have to catch and say, okay, is different from mine. How is different from mine? My energy, for example, it's really like, I don't know, really a lot of movement. And sometimes when I catch that the character has an energy like, I don't know, more like this. So I force myself to move like that, even if I don't want. And after a while, it's like having something, a jacket that you put. It's like the character is a new jacket.
Yeah.
It's something like that. Day by day, of course, you have to build it up.
You can get a lot of suggestions from the text and the music and how your characters think. They are more emotional, or they are more men and women of action. They speak about themselves all the time, or they're more out of themselves.
And I think I know it sounds theoretical to say, but how the character thinks, okay, but sometimes it could be really general, like, okay, how he thinks, now I know, but it doesn't move me, even if I know.
Yeah.
What is important is how the character switches thoughts from one thoughts to another, because it's always really peculiar from the character. Otherwise, we can just say, okay, he's an hero, or maybe in pain, or maybe. But when you are in the switching of thoughts, okay, new thoughts, and the music suddenly change, or maybe you're always in the same thoughts for a lot of time, it's something that really can connect you with the energy. So my advice is go search for the switches of the thoughts.
And for the contrast. The switches in the very little things, like every point of your character, but in a whole view of your character, it's not just one thing. Most of the time is one thing and maybe something very in contrast, and maybe something else even different. And little by little, your character is no more flat, but becomes rounded. How can I say?
Okay. It's like it evolves.
Yes, because it's a person. It's not just a character.
Okay, because I was thinking mostly about arias, when you have to sing in arias in competitions or in recitals. Sometimes it's it's like a picture instead of a movie that goes on, So, in that moment when it doesn't move you or it doesn't touch you, it's harder to make it bloom.
Of course.
Yeah. I think you have to stick with what you have done, and if you go search for the switches of thoughts, sometimes it's like that also in theater that we do. Sometimes you feel it's not the night or something like that. In that moment, you need to be precise in what you have to do, the thought, the notes, and something start to happen. I know that if I start to worry and say, I have to change something because I don't feel something, for me it's not a good idea. Stay there, take a deep breath, or if you are singing in your mind, and something happen, because you just need to be there. I know it's so simple that it's so difficult.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We spoke a lot. What's your favorite moment in the artistic process? Somebody else want to share? Yes, please, Ilma and then Hilary.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of the artistic process is when you're putting it all together, whether it's for a recital and you meet maybe your pianist or a group of musicians, so you can I bring my interpretation and my ideas to mix with someone else's in that interaction. or if you're in a production or a project and you get the staging, you get the orchestra, the conductor, and the makeup, and everything just blends together, and you kind of get to create within that fullness, the final product, but it's not finished yet, but you kind of have all the pieces, but they have to come together.
Yeah.
Mold it. Yeah.
You begin to see the picture.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hilary?
Actually, that's my favorite part too, is when things are coming together, but it's not quite in public yet.
We can't hear properly. I don't know. What about you, Marco?
You hear?
No, Marco non può fare niente.
Me neither. Try again. Maybe make sure that the microphone, Hilary, is the one not from the computer, but from your headphones.
Oh, okay.
Or try to reconnect the headphones.
Okay.
It's better.
Yeah, try again, and maybe speak closer to the computer, because I think that the problem is that it comes from your computer. Sometimes, unfortunately, the microphone is not very strong. It's okay.
Okay. Well, I was just saying that my favorite part is the same as Helma's, where things are coming together, but it's not quite in public yet. I find there's a lot of excitement there, and there's a little less pressure. So I feel people are more willing to experiment and play when it's not quite in public, but everything's coming together and everyone's done their work. So I really love that part.
That is something that many singers tell, that the best moment is when you are all together, but with no audience. So I would like to ask you if there is some time when the audience is adding something to the experience. If there was some experience that was better with the audience, because, for example, for actors in theater, without the audience, you really lost a lot of energy. Also because when we scare the audience a lot, because we don't have music, we hear anything, and we get obsessed by any coughing or from the audience.
Or laugh or whatever.
Yeah, so you say something that they didn't laugh, they should laugh. So we could be really obsessed, but at the same time, when you start to hear that kind of silence that is, you feel the complete focus from the audience, it's something that it's very, it's like for an actor, it's always better with the audience. So I'm really curious, because this is something that many singers say. I like when we are all together with the orchestra, but before going with
in front of the audience.
Yes. So I'm curious to know if there could be some way in order for the audience to add something, or in your experience is just that when you are in front of the audience, is always going to be at its best the same thing when you are with the orchestra but with no audience, or maybe not so good? I'm not clear, sorry, I rephrase. If there is a possibility for the audience to add something very good in your experience sometime, if you have experienced sometime.
Yes,
Ilma.
Yeah, I would say that, I mean, the audience is kind of the extra, the sprinkles on the cake. I mean, that's because that's what you work towards, and you get to show your art. I mean, for example, for the last question, I said that the best part is to get together with everyone. But I mean, that's for my creative process. But then it's not done when I present it on stage, but it's sort of a final product that still can evolve together with the energy from the audience.
Okay.
So for me, the audience brings a very positive thing to a performance.
Okay, so maybe it's just like being without the audience. It's like, because the audience is kind of the ghost of the kind of worries that we had. So we know we have to deal with, and we are happy in that
But
moment.
scared.
Yes, when we have not to deal with. So it's like, it's complete but safe at the same moment. The part when you are with the orchestra but without the audience. I guess, maybe. I don't know if it's
yeah,
like...
I mean, it's for me at least, it's a bit more calm because you don't have the always, you know, the additional sort of stress and that tiny worry that always comes with a public performance.
Yeah.
But it's still, at least I worked a lot on it, but now that still adds something, that little extra to performance. But of course, before, without the audience, it's still a calm, safer space to work in.
Yeah. And maybe, sorry, is also the time when you feel more connection with your colleagues, that moment, more sharing?
It depends on colleagues, I would say. I mean, you have some people just get to that kind of extra level with the audience.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has to do with energies. Well, some people might, you know, take a step back and play it safe. It's very different.
Yeah. I understand. Thank you.
Lucy, you wanted to say something?
Just that I loved Hilma's image of the audience being the sprinkles on the cake, because the cake is baked. You know, we've made that at home. And you made me think also of, because the energy is so different every night, it's almost like reading the weather report and getting dressed and then going outside and not knowing whether it's going to be a day like this or it's going to be a storm, because the audience could bring anything into the theater. It could be what the report said, or it could not. So some nights you really feel that you're giving and being given this sacred gift by all that focus in the house, how it feels, you know, you can hear the pin drop. And then some nights you feel like you have gone to battle because their energy is low, or because the critics are cruel that night, or whatever. People aren't giving you what you need that night. So it could be, you know, the cake could just slide off the plate. but yeah, all of the work that you've done to bake it in that safe space of the kitchen is like those final rehearsals that feel so creative, but where the risk is a little bit lower still. Yeah. Because
the metaphor, it's very beautiful, the metaphor.
Yes, I'm going to use it. The cake is baked.
Okay. You want, somebody else want to tell the favorite moment?
I actually have a question about the favorite moment.
Yeah.
Building on what Emily was asking you, Chiara, and Valerio obviously too. If I could underline, if I could brand it on myself and show my client, if I could put it on the wall of my house, what you just said about finding the language of your character in the language of the poetry. So one character, because my most beautiful moment is often, I mean, of course, it's that moment when I'm in the box and I'm seeing what my colleagues have done and living it with them. But in the rehearsal room, the most beautiful moment of the creative process is often, I heard somebody else, is often sitting with the singer at the piano. We have the libretto open, we have the play open, and they say, oh, that's what that verb can mean, you know, and we find something in the text, right? Not the translation, but in the actual text that can help them open up the character. And so I would love for you, I loved how you said you can, if you are singing, if you are becoming a character who speaks a language that you do not, you can trust more than you think the vowels and consonants that are lined up verse by verse for you by the poet. You know, we sometimes are so, it's one more thing on our to-do list that we have to get our open A's and open O's and open, you know, open A, closed A. But we have to follow this checklist to make everything right about the way we say the text. And at the same time, we are not really understanding the text. We are looking at a translation into the language that we do speak, which may be more or less literal, may be more or less graceful, and more or less serviceable to our building the character. So I would love for you to elaborate even a bit, if you would like, about how you build a character in a language that is not your first language. Do you know what I mean? How you go, because also Valerio, how you were saying how the character thinks, but specifically how the character changes from thought to thought. Do you have any more tips that we, that singers can, you know, absorb and
yeah, but I think you say
dictionary is not much of a friend sometimes.
Yeah. But you said a lot of very important thing, that you have to trust the language that maybe you don't fully understand. You need to, of course, to try to understand as much as you can. As you say many times, translation are not so, I don't want to say that they are not good, but they are not to the point. It's like sometimes when I ask to our students, okay, what is happening? What they really have just a general idea. So emotion is always something that is not general, is always very specific. So we need to search for very specific things in order to gain it more. So I really liked when you talk about trusting the vowels, trusting all the sound, because we talk about energy, and any language has its own energy. So when I say the switches of thoughts, it's a very good thing searching for them in the music in another language, because maybe we cannot understand, but you know, it's like when we watch a movie in a language we don't understand. It's not that we cannot enjoy the movie or we cannot understand anything. If the actor is good, we connect. So we always have the possibility to connect with another language. Sometimes when we have to do something in English, for us, it's difficult, you know, because we don't have even the music to help us. Yes, to help us. So it's like, I don't have my language. For an actor, it's something very bad. But and I think, Chiara, you can say something about it, because you did just a few months ago an experience like that.
Yeah, it's very useful to connect with, to focus on the words that really are important, that key words in the text. So you cannot not know in that words. And they are sometimes the switching points of your thoughts, sometimes the main part of your emotions. And from there, you just have to trust that speaking another language will make your instrument change a little. So if you follow it, something will happen, because you are not a robot. So even the contrast between you trying to understand and the thing itself can make something bloom.
Mm-hmm. And also we work
everyone.
And we do a lot of work with words, because of course it's not easy, it's difficult. And for example, we try to change the words in order to say in another way, to see if what the sound
suggests.
Yes, for example, this is very clear when you study poetry. Many of the answers is strange to think, but are in poetry, because poetry is movement, as music is. So if you can follow the movement in poetry, you can do a wonderful job with any language. For example, I talked about Hamlet a few minutes ago, and if I say to be or not to be, that is the question. In Italian is essere o non essere. Questo è il problema. It's completely different. If I just focus to the sound, I cannot put the same thought in the Italian version that in English, because it's to be, as this sound, it's very concrete, essere.
It's another nuance of the concept.
Yes, so I think that it's very good when you can consider the sound of the words. The sound, what is expressing the sound to me. You know the word dawn in English is alba in Italian. In Spanish, I think is madrugada. It's something completely different for the same thing. And I'm really fascinated by imagining what is dawn, or maybe alba, or madrugada. It's so you can connect with another language if you use yourself, what I'm feeling with this word. And again, it's not just a simple answer because it's a work we need to do day by day, but it's a gift more than a problem doing in different languages.
Yeah, and you are very trained to feel the movement in the words because you are trained to feel the movement in the music. So just feel it and put in your body and something will happen.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm very curious about the percentage you gave to the creativity role in all your job. Tell numbers. Who wants to begin? What is the percentage of creative, your own creative personal initiative? Yes, Olivia, thank you.
Well, the first number that came into my head was 40%.
40, okay.
Yeah. And I didn't think about it much. That's just what I got on the first instance.
Okay, great. Somebody else? 40, more or less?
I dropped you to 35.
35.
35.
Okay.
Instruction.
Yeah, it's true.
I said 100% just because you can bring 100%, I feel, of creativity, and then whether or not your ideas are used is kind of up to, like, obviously the discretion of the director. But if you bring 100%, then like I've been in productions where somebody has brought like literally 100%, and it just makes everyone around them bring more as well. So it just kind of inspires other people to like bring their ideas too. And if you bring 100%, then like I've stolen ideas even from somebody that I'm double cast with, right? So if they bring 100% and you bring 100%, you can really bounce those ideas off each other and bring a lot of like each other's creativity and bounce those ideas. So that's what I said.
Yeah.
So sorry, I lost the number. You said
I said
it.
100%.
100%.
Ah, okay, wow.
I would
you.
say 50.
15?
50.
Yeah.
50.
And there was Olivia again. You raise your head.
Yeah, because I thought, wasn't the question like what percentage of creativity, what percentage of the performance do you think is your creativity? Like how much space is there for your interpretation or your creativity? Like that's what I thought the question was. Because if we're singing, if we're singing a piece that someone else has composed, those notes are not our notes, so that's already part of the percentage that's not our own creation, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know if I misunderstood the question correct. Like, did I understand?
No, I think it's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
It's also about our personal artistic initiative in the process.
Mm-hmm.
What we put of ourselves, because sometimes we put the most personal thing we put to the work. It's sometimes I put my worries more than my creativity. Let's say so.
Or sometimes we are too much worried about what we are required to do. So we don't want to make the director or the conductor unhappy. And so we don't work really much about anything creative we can still do on stage. we don't give ourselves the space to create.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, yes, please, Hilma.
Yeah, so I was thinking along the same lines as Olivia a little bit, you know, counting percentage and whatnot, but I think it depends on so many things, because one can always bring 100% of, you know, one's own creative initiative if they want to. I mean, even if a director tells you to, you know, walk a straight line and turn right, you can still do that in, you know, in character, but in your own creative way and things like that. But so I don't know. I mean, in an ideal world, you can always bring 100%, but then that might just not happen for various reasons.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Yes. Because I think that the thing is that if we say think outside the box, it's something that, I don't know, I like as a topic, but it's not that if you think outside the box, you are going to win. It's that if you think outside the box, you are going to risk.
But if you risk,
and maybe in this risk, there is something to win. So otherwise, it would be too simple to say, yes, think outside the box. Okay, but I have 1,000 things to worry about in order to do that. And I would like to, I think the last thing maybe, to give you an example about what I mean when I talk about personal artistic initiative in opera. Is an example taken from an opera by Puccini that is called La Fanciulla del West, that I think you know. And you know there is a moment when there are two characters, Minnie and Renz, that are playing poker, right? And the stakes are really high, and in the end, Minnie wins the game. Okay, now it's not important how she wins. What is important is that she announces her victory not by singing, but by acting with just 5 words that in Italian is tre assi e un paio, that it means like 3 aces and 1, 2, I don't know. Yes, is the card double? Lucy, you are saying?
And a pair.
Ah, okay, and a pair, yes.
Thank you, Lucy.
And so I would like you to listen to 2 different versions of that moment by the same singer, that is a very important Italian singer whose name was Renata Tebaldi, maybe you hear about. And it's not about her voice or her technique. We can like or not like. It's about the courage to take a personal initiative. So, okay. So first one, when she was quite in the top of her voice.
Her career.
Yes. I see if the right moment. Okay. Okay, and here we can hear also that in the table that she win. Second thing is like 12 years after, she wasn't maybe in the best part of her career vocally, and listen what she does here. Yes. Okay. Okay. So it's not about I like it or I don't like it. I can consider a great moment of acting, or maybe I can consider, no, opera, it's not supposed to be like that. It's not about this. It's about how much of a personal initiative she is putting in that moment. Because, as I say, think outside of the box, it means to risk. And it's kind of a great risk doing something like that. And it's curious for me that she did in a moment when her voice started, it wasn't in her best moment of her career, and she was incredibly focused in that part. It's also a risk for a singer, because in order for an actor is quite normal, but you have really to open your throat in order to have the kind of voice, and then don't harm yourself. So I would like to share this kind of example with you, because, you know, when we talk about great singers, it's like that there isn't a formula. They have that something that we can recognize and connect with, but it's different for any singer. So it's very curious for me that a great singer like Renata Tebaldi was considered, had that something, and great singer put that something in their singing, in their acting, in their
interpretation,
in their stage presence. It's like we need to work on that something, and it's something really personal. It's so we need to put ourselves there in order to start to know ourselves a little more, and so to work with that something that we have it, all of us have it, but sometimes we are too scared to work there because we have some model to follow. I want to be like this, exactly like this, but it's not something completely in our hands. We have to accept what we are and what we can be.
Yeah, because again, it's an artistic work. So it's about creation and not just execution. So whatever you are in front, whoever you are in front of, whoever director, there are more strict director, more easygoing director, but so the percentage, indeed, it's different from director to director about your creativity. But keep finding, even if it's 1%, find that part of your creativity, work on it, because it's your job. Yeah. It's about creativity and not just doing things you are required to do.
And I personally like the moment a lot when she screams and the audience start to go crazy just because a scream in the opera. Okay, you have question maybe? I don't know. If you want, we have a lot of QA through it, but maybe you want to ask something more. Or maybe not, it's not a problem. Okay, I think it's all.
Okay, so thank you very much for your time, for your generosity.
Yeah.
You shared a lot of personal things. I really hope some of this process is helpful for you to begin feeling something maybe new, something different about yourself and how you work.
Before we go, sorry, would you mind if we take a photo of everyone together? It's for our Instagram and all social media. By the way, if you haven't, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Chiara, would you mind taking the picture, because I'm not very good at it? Please get ready whenever you want.
Okay, just a moment.
Whenever you're ready, just give us the 3, 2, 1, because I have to find the right.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, smile, go. Thank you.
Thank you. And am I forgetting anything, Chiara, Valerio?
I don't think so, no.
Oh,
No.
one thing I almost forgot. As you know, this is the second to the last workshop we are doing this summer. There will be more in the fall. If you liked this workshop, if you like the other workshops, and you would like to let us know, please let us know. You can review us on Facebook, or you can just send us an email, or you can share our work, and it will be just fantastic. So this is my part.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to everyone.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. And remember, in 2 weeks, we have another workshop, which is all about, sorry, I thought I was over, but like, it never ends. I will let you go. Remember, so performers outside the stage. So you are all amazing. You have so many abilities that you can use in outside the stage. So we're going to work together in order to understand how to use your amazing abilities within the stage and outside the stage. Okay. Bye, everyone. Chiara, Valerio, last words?
I just want to thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
if you want to open your microphone and to say something, you are super allowed.
Yes, please. Like, turn on your microphone and say goodbye to everyone if you want. Say ciao.
Ciao, goodbye, everybody.
Ciao. Goodbye.
Ciao a tutti. Ciao, ciao. Ciao.
Grazie.